Evergreen Media Network Studios. Brought to you by Evergreen Media, creating cohesive marketing campaigns. Evergreen Media in Vero Beach.
Treasure Coast Connector, connecting residents and businesses of the Treasure Coast. And here's your host, Ellen Contreras.
Welcome to Treasure Coast Connector. I'm your host, Ellen Contreras. Treasure Coast Connector is the talk show, an online community where we put a spotlight on interesting local businesses and resources, then connect them to you, the consumers in the community. Everyone has an interesting story of why they do what they do. When we learn about what's happening in our own backyard and support local businesses, it strengthens our local economy. For details on the show, links to discounts, promos, past interviews, visit www.tcconnector.com. You know, we all know that we're not going to live forever. And while it's a serious topic, it is a worthwhile discussion. And putting your ducks in a row will not only give you peace of mind, it's an amazing gift to give to your loved ones. Joining me in the studio today is Jonathan Raymond. He is the general manager for Cox-Gifford Seawinds Funeral Home and Crematory located in Vero. And with him is Joe LaCava, and he is the funeral director. They have a lot of great information to share, and they're going to help us make sense of all the options that we have around this very sensitive, delicate topic. So welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you, Ellen. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you're here because, as you know, I am very well aware of the gift that pre-planning gives. Okay, but we'll get into that in a moment. But before we start talking about the funeral home and how you help people, why don't you tell us a little bit about what made you want to get into this industry?
Well, funeral service in general is something that enables you to give back to people that you really have very limited knowledge on who they are, if know them at all. But it gives you an opportunity to help someone in a humanistic form of compassionate, empathetic service, providing something to that family that they could really not repay you for. You know, it really is a gift to that family.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Joe?
Kind of to bounce off of what Jonathan had said is that being involved in the community, seeing how death will affect everybody, especially until they walk through your doors, and every person that walks through those doors is someone that you can have a conversation with, get to know, even years down the line, hopefully build some sort of relationship that they're able to reach back out to you if there's anything in need that they need.
Absolutely. And for a lot of people, a funeral home, it's actually when you take care of a family member and then the younger generation see that, it becomes a generational thing. So you actually end up building relationships. Right. Very, very true. So now some people find the idea of pre-planning and prepaying for their funeral very difficult. We all know, like I said in the intro, that nobody's going to live forever, but we don't really want to think about it. But it is a gift, and I am sure that there have been some amazing, uplifting stories that you could share about why, when someone pre-plans and prepays, why it is such a good thing for the loved ones that are left behind.
Well, you know, Ellen, you bring up a really great point about planning in advance. And we as people in society plan for basically everything. We plan for college expenses and marriages, meaning weddings, having children. We plan for retirement. And we don't often take care of things that we know for a fact are going to happen to us. We don't know if we're going to have children. We don't know if we're going to have grandchildren, such like that. But we prepare for a lot of those different things. Pre-planning a funeral, although it can be somewhat emotional, it lacks the immediate emotion of that loss. Okay, so I've laughed with people. I've cried with people. Heard interesting stories about someone's life. And that's when you have an opportunity, when you're not forced into a corner to make that decision, where you're going to have the services for your loved one, what you're going to do. You're not under any pressure at that point in time. And I always say, do not make emotional decisions. Well, there's not much, I can't think of a stronger emotion than the death of a loved one. Whether it's your parent, your child, your grandparents, your uncle, your aunt, whatever, your brother, your sister, it really is an emotional time. So it's never a good day to plan a funeral on the day that someone dies. When you think about prearrangements, you think about an opportunity to make an informed decision. Gather your options, review your options with your family, find out what your family wants. But most importantly, you get to express what you want. And, with a personal planning guide that we offer all of our client families or families in the community, it gives you an opportunity to outline what you want to have and how you want to be remembered and what you want your legacy to be, leaving that roadmap for your family forward, and you get to speak for yourself even though you're not in the room. Yep.
No, very true. Anything that you wanted to add to that?
And I'll just say, like Jonathan was saying, it gives you an opportunity for you to express how you want you to be remembered. And those around you, it also sometimes alleviates some of the questions that maybe your family has, that they weren't sure if you're going to choose cremation or burial. So a lot of times, as you said, people don't want to talk about it, but sometimes that's already a step that when we meet with families, they come in, they already know what they're going to be choosing because they at least have had some sort of prearrangement made, that it makes it a little bit easier for the families coming in. Even if they didn't talk to their loved one previously before, it kind of gives them a relief that it's one less decision at the time, that they're not thinking clearly, that it has been made for them. And then it's just kind of moving through the motions with us to finalize the arrangement.
Yeah. And like I said, or when we met last week at that Vero Beach Chamber Lunch and Learn, that my mom did that for us. And that was amazing. So now, and we talked a little bit about this in the third question. I was going to ask about the benefits of getting your ducks in a row. But another benefit is the fact that prices always go up, unfortunately, as the years go on. So that's a benefit, to kind of pay and lock in the rates. Is that like another?
Ellen, right. It's a two-pronged fork. There's an emotional benefit and a financial benefit. So if you don't have the financial wherewithal to take care of the financial obligations at the point in time you make your prearrangements, at least you take care of the emotional thoughts and benefits that come along with deciding what you want to have happen. So your family doesn't have any question. If you do have the financial wherewithal to pay for your funeral, your prearrangements all at one time or over a period of time, you lock in those prices. So although you're sitting with us today in 2023, you may live 50 more years. You've already made your financial obligation to the funeral home satisfied by making your payment or making your payments over a period of time. You lock in those prices. So it is one guarantee that you'll never pay anything more than the accrual of growth that's in that plan. It's a trust. But you already paid for it, so your family wouldn't be responsible to pay the funeral home anything more. The outside expenses, though, to the clergy, the newspaper for obituaries and such like that, those could increase because we don't control those costs. However, the funeral home expenses would be locked in once you made those payment arrangements or the payment satisfactory in full.
Yeah, and that's nice because then there's a binder of all the details that are left with that person, and then hopefully they let family members know where that is. So that way, they just take that binder in. So that's... And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but we
please.
Talked about that a little bit the other day, Ellen, is that if you already have prearrangements, it's very important to let your family know. Because I cannot tell you how many people call us after the fact and say, geez, when my mom was in Florida, she made her prearrangements. Well, she passed away up here in Maine 3 weeks ago, and we didn't know she made her prearrangements in Florida, so how do we get the funds that she paid, which are refundable to her based or to the funeral home that they chose up north, for instance. But it's important to share that information and make those decisions together as a family.
Yep. No, that is very good. And especially any clothing that they want to wear, let them know where that is too.
Right, you said that about your mom.
My mother's dress.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a good time. So you know what I'm thinking? Cindy, I'm going to take a break a minute early. Is that okay? That's perfect. She loves when I do this because I don't want to interrupt the next question. Stay tuned. We have a lot more to discuss. We'll be right back.
Right now at Sunshine Furniture, it's holiday sale time, so you can save up to 50% on selected groups of indoor and outdoor furniture from Lloyd Flanders, Telescope, Windward, Capri, Seawinds, Universal, and lots more. Sofas, love seats, dining sets, patio groups, occasional chairs, bedroom sets, all on sale just in time to make Santa say ho, ho, ho. Also, all pictures, lamps, and accessories are half off. And don't forget to visit our outlet and sales store just across the street from our main location for lots of great holiday bargains. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in the Publix Plaza next to Planet Fitness in Vero Beach. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com.
Sunshine Furniture brightens up your day. Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Ooh, have a sunshine day. Sunshine Furniture.
Ladies, are you looking for a change but just don't know how to get there? Don't miss the Women's Life Mastery event, a roadmap for change to becoming your best self. 10 fabulous women sharing their expertise for real ways to positive change. This holiday season, invest in yourself and register today to discover and become your best self. Breakfast, lunch, swag, and more. The Women's Life Mastery event, Saturday, January 13th at Joy Farms in Vero Beach. Visit CIAcertified.com today for more details. CIAcertified.com.
Welcome to Riverside Theater's Comedy Zone, where the comedy is wild, untamed, and downright hilarious. Come out this Friday and Saturday night at new times, 6 and 8 p.m. for the Treasure Coast's best live stand-up comedy show, featuring nationally recognized comedians with cabaret-style seating and food and drink table service. Warning, you may laugh until it hurts. Kickstart your evening with live entertainment, food, and drinks at Live in the Loop. Buy tickets at riversidetheater.com and get ready for a night of non-stop laughs.
Welcome back to Treasure Coast Connector. I'm your host, Ellen Contreras, and I have with me Jonathan Raymond and Joe LaCava. Joe LaCava is the funeral director. Jonathan Raymond is the branch manager for Cox-Gifford Seawinds Funeral Home and Crematory located in Vero Beach. And we've been talking about a delicate topic that I think definitely needs to be spoken about. As a matter of fact, I'm glad Cindy has that up on the screen because in the first half, I didn't have you mention like where you're physically located, your phone number, your web address for the millions of people that are watching us or listening to us rather on the podcast and iHeartRadio.
So we are Cox-Gifford Seawinds Funeral Home at 1950 20th Street here in Vero Beach, 772-562-2365, coxgiffordseawinds.com. We also have Sebastian Seawinds Funeral Home and Crematory in Sebastian and Davis Seawinds Funeral Home and Crematory in Melbourne. And it's really important to remember that there's a little bit more to contacting a funeral home than just sending an email. It's really about picking up the phone, making that first difficult phone call, but making a connection with one of our funeral directors or care personnel that provide you with comfortable and empathetic, compassionate information about what we can do and how we can help you.
Yeah, and I love that because as a funeral director, you have a very calm demeanor, kind face, and I'm sure that people come in, and this is what we're going to talk about next, when someone passed away and there's no pre-plan in place. Now you're dealing with people that are quite emotional. They're very upset, but you have a way of helping them through that. But logistically, what are some of the things that people need to be aware of if no plan has been put in place?
So a lot of times we need to gather some information, vital statistic information. If you don't pre-plan, you need to make sure that you're giving that information to someone that's able to give that to the funeral director. Things like mother's maiden name, place of work, place of birth, things like that maybe you didn't explain to your family or you haven't talked about it. We will need that information at the time. And it's important to have that readily available so that way at the time when you're looking to get the death certificate, we file the death certificate for the families so that way we can gather the information and get the death certificate back to the family.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And then, so now switching over to the physical location. So at the chamber lunch, the lunch and learn that we went to last week, I really appreciated that very much. Sometimes somebody that I knew said to me, ooh, what was it like inside? Because they're thinking about the Victorian funeral parlors that haven't been updated. If you're from the Northeast, a lot of people, right, because you're from New Jersey, some of these funeral homes haven't been updated. I walked in and it looked like I could have been going to somebody's anniversary lunch when I walked in. It was beautiful inside.
Or a hotel lobby.
Yeah, very modern, very elegant, but yet peaceful at the same time. So describe the funeral home and like the different rooms that are available, what people will encounter when they go in. So
we've just finished a remodel of our funeral home, part of it. It's a multi-pronged process. However, we just completed our event room, which holds between 50 and 60 people, because it's a really challenging task to find a place to have a reception following a funeral, because most families do that. So if you don't have your own country club or yacht club or something to that effect, we offer an event center that enables you to go right from the service to the event center. You don't have to find additional parking. It's located in the same building. It's very comfortable. We have a wide range of different types of food that is available, and also do have availability for adult refreshments as well, which often goes hand in hand in a funeral. As you know,
an Irish funeral. I'm sorry. I've been to a couple. Just saying. Food
is important, right? And food brings comfort. And it also enables you to break bread to get continued support from those that came to the services for your family and friends to provide you that emotional support.
Yeah, my mother was a lady. We had tea and we had cake and things like that.
Yes.
But then there are celebration of life events that people want to have for their family. And that's also a good thing too, depending on the person's outlook.
It is.
So, but anyway, I don't want to go off onto tangents. Now, Cox-Gifford Seawinds, you are part of, a very large organization, Everstory. I did not realize till I dove into your website, 24 states and 3 different divisions. Now, why is that very helpful for the families and the people that are making their arrangements?
Ellen, thanks for bringing that up, because we know here in Florida there's a high percentage of people that only holiday here, or they come down here called respectively snowbirds. And most of those folks live permanently somewhere else. So it's important to know that we have, mostly on the eastern seaboard, have the opportunity to provide the same services that you made arrangements for here in Florida in your home state. Like Ellen said, 24, like you said, Ellen, 24 different states. We have 3 different divisions, but that's to keep things straight as far as our company is concerned. But we're not a publicly held company. We are a privately owned company. Therefore, we're providing services to the local folks through local folks that have been with us for years, the majority of them. So it's like one family taking care of another. It's not a strange event because you know the person that you're dealing with most of the time. And if you've made your pre-arrangements, well, you already have that connection, or your family has that connection with a trusted person that you've come to know. So it's important to think about that as well. It's nice to do business and more comfortable to do business with people you know.
Oh, absolutely. And that's another thing, is that when I went there last week, I did not know that it was part of a big organization. It does have that small town, lovely, quaint feel to it, and you have a lovely staff. Do you want to brag a little bit about your staff? I know that wasn't a part of the question, but we mentioned some of the caring people. So
right. So I will tell you what our families say about the folks that I'm privileged to lead. My funeral directors are compassionate, empathetic, patient, kind, understanding people. They listen to your wants and your needs. They provide you services and merchandise to meet your needs and wants on your terms. We don't prejudge. We don't pre-think about what this person is going to want without asking those open-ended questions about how did you love? What did you learn from your loved one that passed away?
Mm-hmm.
How did they want to be remembered? What is the legacy they want to leave behind? Death is something that we all face. I know that when I lost my mother, I thought it was going to be a very devastational time for myself. Much to the contrary, I gave her a send-off that I was comfortable with, that gave my heart peace. Do I miss her? Sure. Do I think I'm going to see her again? I most definitely do. But most of all, the rest of my life can be spent in peace, knowing that, one, she did prearrange her own funeral with me. I knew what she wanted to do, and I provided that to her, which gave me a great deal of peace. Mm-hmm. And it will do the same thing for your family. When you take the time to put to paper your thoughts and feelings, your wishes and wants, how you want to be remembered, what you want your legacy to be, that's the true gift that you leave your family. Making some really small decisions with the information that my caring team provides for you, that's going to give you a legacy that your family is going to want to remember instead of a funeral they want to forget.
Yeah. I love that. That's very nice. And as the funeral director, when somebody hasn't made the pre-arrangements and something happens very suddenly, we spoke about some of the logistics, but let's talk about the emotional side of things. When somebody makes that phone call, what do you and your team then do to help them, through that process?
So I think what we try to do at Cox-Gifford is, and not that other funeral homes don't, but when we first get that initial call, that we want to make sure that we create some sort of relationship with that family. So when we get that first notification that their loved one has passed, we want to build that trust right from the beginning, that we want them to feel comfortable that when their loved one leaves where they passed, they know that they're in good hands. Because if you've ever seen anyone that has had a bad experience with a funeral, that's what they remember. Everything can go perfect, but from the first to the very end, you have to make sure that they trust you and that they're comfortable with their loved one in your care.
Mm-hmm. Very good. I appreciate that, because sometimes people, they go in and they're just not thinking clearly, and then they're afraid of making decisions that maybe they shouldn't have made. Sometimes people are afraid of making financial decisions that'll have a negative consequence after. They're almost afraid of that. But that's not how you operate at all, from what I gathered from that presentation. So I want people to understand that as well.
For sure. If I can chime in a little bit to
we have about 30 seconds.
Piggyback on what Joe said. It's the way that you want it to be. It's your wishes and wants. When someone doesn't have prearrangements, there is a high degree of stress that comes along with that. But we are patient. We provide you time. There is no emergency. But it does give you the benefit of knowing when you make prearrangements, when you select a funeral home, make sure that you visit that funeral home, make sure you meet the staff at that funeral home so that you're comfortable with the decision that you're making. It's not a yellow page decision. It's not a web page decision. Most people get their funeral home from a referral from a friend that has recently suffered a loss. So it's important for you to take the time ahead of time to make those decisions for your family. It's a loving gift that you can give to them.
Yep, I love that. And we are out of time. So I want to say thank you very much for being here. This was a very important conversation to have. You're going to be bringing a lot of peace and comfort to a lot of individuals and families. So thank you again for being here. My name is Ellen Contreras, host of Treasure Coast Connector. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Until next week, I miss you already.